Welcome back to Your World Extra. I have to say this is the first time I'm doing an extra.
Right?
Yeah, it feels special. It feels special.
Yeah,
it does.
Initiation.
I'm just like,
initiating you to Your World Extra.
Karibuni sana. Well, it's a totally different conversation from what we were having earlier, and in commemoration with the rest of the world, World Mental Health Day inafanyika pale tarehe 10 mwezi huu.
Yes.
So today on Your World Extra, we are just focusing on that.
Yeah. And let me tell you, mental health, this is a conversation that we've had several times, not just on Your World, but I want to believe in our WhatsApp spaces, amongst our friends, our families as well. But still, there's just something about stigma when it comes to mental health that I think I was about to say I don't know what we'll do to it.
We're doing something today.
We're doing something. Yes, we will do something today. And yes, like we kindly said, World Mental Health will be happening, and we have two amazing ladies here, today to help us with the conversation. And the theme for this year, as far as mental health is concerned, is mental health in humanitarian emergencies. I think this is a conversation that we've not really tapped into.
We haven't. But then those spaces are very vulnerable.
Very vulnerable.
Very vulnerable spaces. When you talk about mental health, and it's not probably spaces where they can afford it.
Yes.
So it's spaces where it requires for it to be there for them.
Yes, absolutely. And we have on
we're still gonna do it. It's fine.
I wasn't sure. Are we still okay? We have Charlene Tafawa, who is manager, mental health and psychosocial support. Karibu sana.
Thank you very much.
Good to have you on the show.
Thank you very much.
And we also have Rosaline Harry. So both of you prefer Tafawa and you prefer
Harry.
Karibu sana. And Harry is a consultant together with the mental health and psychosocial support. Karibu sana to the conversation. And we're just going to start with, first of all, the theme for this year, because like we said, we've talked about mental health, even here on Your World, so many times, but then the humanitarian aspect is where, we've not like really
gone deep
and said we need to talk about it. So can we just understand the theme and the significance that it carries?
Yes.
Yeah.
First of all, thank you very much even for the invitation and us providing a platform to just have this conversation. Something that's very pertinent for us, and even as the Refugee Consortium of Kenya, being in the forced migration space, where we're looking at how do we enhance policy, how do we enhance practice to ensure that individuals access mental health support. This is such a timely conversation.
Yes.
And within the humanitarian emergencies, I mean, as you've said, the situation is one thing, because most of the time there's stigma, there's discrimination, and then we look at mental health and psychosocial support as an alternative. Not really as an emergency at that particular time. So even our structural systems would look at I'm not saying it's wrong. We would look at where does this person sleep if maybe there's a conflict. That is very okay, the basic need. But we also ensure that we have empowered this individual to be able to explore the issues around that forced migration. How do we engage this conversation? How do we engage this individual in a way that enhances their ability to be more resilient? Not necessarily that we're wishing something like this to happen, but we've seen protracted issues of trauma, of conflict. So how do you also enhance individuals? Within the humanitarian setting, as you've said, there are very huge gaps. One of them is that we look at, I've said mental health as a by the way. So when we are budgeting for it, we are only looking at it later on in short-term engagements and also as an afterthought, the management, but we're not looking at it from a preventive angle.
Yes.
That's something that's also very important to us. When we're working with the displaced populations, we're not just working with the displaced, but also with the host communities. So how do you also incorporate preventive programs into our mental health programming so that we don't only deal with the consequences when, there's fire at the end? How do we ensure we have the fire extinguishers? How do we ensure that there's sand or water or someone else who can come and help in?
Okay.
I think, Harry, then my question would be, RCK has been in the space for quite a bit now, and it's been very intentional to integrate mental health, psychosocial support in these spaces. what does it look like? Like practically, what does it look like? What are the things that are being done? Or and even mention spaces that probably we need to do better.
Mental health in the humanitarian space, more so us being in the Refugee Consortium of Kenya.
Yes.
There's still much to be done. Organizations are trying, but mostly, the government has not prioritized. It has done something, but it comes as a luxury or as
an afterthought.
After the basic needs, now the mental health comes. While in the humanitarian setting, we get the first-hand experience. There's a big need. So us who are getting first-hand experience with people who have experienced trauma, also the refugees, the asylum seekers, the internally displaced people. There's a lot of need, and currently the intervention depends on donor funding. Whenever the donor is gone, we put a hold until we find another donor. So there's also that gap. There is no consistency whether this person has started treatment or it is a campaign we've started. Once the donor goes, we halt, and then the government does not has not put in place like a lot of budget in that sector. As I said, it comes as a laxity or something.
Okay, then this sort of like makes the situation worse, because then if you've made progress, then you have to pause, wait, and then you sort of like pick up from where you left. You might find that there's some people, and especially when you talk about mental health, you might find that if someone you pause, say either treatment, right, or support of any form, whether it's therapy or counseling, you put a pause, and then and still the person is in the same situation, sort of like worsens, the whole situation. So then the biggest question would be, are there ways to sort of like buffer that, maybe from where you guys come from, that even if you wait for the donor to come, there is a way that you don't completely halt?
There are things that probably don't need a lot of money, like the counseling, where it's probably voluntary. I don't know.
Yes, and I'll give a practical example. One of the ways that, can be used to counter that. We're currently in a phase where, earlier on in the year, His Excellency President Trump just woke up and said there's no US funding. And that really affected the humanitarian space. And the humanitarian space works with the displaced and host populations. So it's not only the displaced who are affected, but also the host and even other programs, let's say, within the country. So what we are doing within the Refugee Consortium of Kenya, and even at times in partnership with other organizations and other institutions, is that, one, we are creating community-owned structures. So if, I'll give you an example. In Zimbabwe, there's this grandmother benches. So it's just grandmothers who sit, and the community normally goes to the grandmothers. So it was identified after there was someone who had unfortunately died through suicide. How do we ensure that the support is easily accessible to everyone? So what they did, they realized we have a network of grandmothers who just sit at benches. How do we empower the grandmothers? So for us, we also have something similar. Our community structures are, you'd find the chief, mzee wa nyumba kumi, just the normal chama lady, any ordinary person, and we try to constantly empower them on mental health and how to offer, if it's psychological first aid, how do you do at that particular time, empowering them with basic counseling skills so that they're able to respond to that. Now, when there's no funding, it would mean that the resource is still within the community. Even if we step away, we have, for example, Harry is in this community, she's still within the community, and we're empowering both refugees, IDPs, and host community members. So because, with displacement, you look at alternative resolution for a durable solution. So the person might go back to their country, they might get integrated, or they might go to a third country. So in case they leave, we also have others who are empowered to be able to resolve that. Something else, and I'll commend the efforts the government has been making, that last year the government launched the first national guidelines on management of clinical mental illness disorders. And you know, this brings about a lot of progress, and some of the issues discussed there, for example, on suicide. We saw in January just Judge Lawrence Mugambi ruled that the Penal Code Section 226 that criminalizes suicide is unconstitutional. Same things are within the guidelines. So there's also effort done by other stakeholders, because by decriminalizing such, I mean, someone would not be afraid to go out and say, I'm struggling with this, because at times, others fear that if I say I'm struggling with something, it would mean, I mean, I'm going down the legal system again, because, another thing is pooling of resources. I mean, we can't work in silos.
True.
We have we've worked with whether it's the county governments, and I'll give an example. In Nakuru, we have this network of community-based resource persons. And some of these community-based resource persons are also engaged by the county as community health volunteers. So after we were done with constant capacity strengthening sessions, now they were linked with the county, now all of them. So we've also widened the pool that the county has in terms of reaching different marginalized communities. You'll find other instances where we can only do 1, 2, 3, so we'd partner with another institution. For example, when it comes to psychiatric care, as Refugee Consortium of Kenya, we would be able to offer psychological care, but psychiatric care, which is also wanting, means that, I mean, if someone needs it, they need to access it to I mean, have the holistic perspective. So you'd find Mathare National Hospital offers the support, Mbagathi Hospital offers the support to some of the people we refer to.
Okay. You know, again, when you think about like humanitarian emergencies, there's a lot of stress that I'm just curious, what exactly are some of the, say, like the either common mental health conditions, disorders that you see versus, say, in any setting where people say, yeah, I'm stressed, I'm depressed, and we use those terms loosely. But really, what are the levels? What exactly does it look like? So that when we're talking about the policies and the gaps that are there, we really understand how dire the situation is and what really needs to be done as soon as now to at least help the people.
So for most of the refugees and the host communities, which are the population we mostly serve, you find that their journey in finding asylum in Kenya, it's not that easy. And it can never be easy. So right from maybe burning of their houses, being evicted from their comfort zones, their homes, and then the journey, maybe there's some assault, cases of SGBV, and then you reach to Kenya, you don't have a place to stay, you have to run to maybe UNHCR to seek for asylum until you get accepted, and then now this is a new country. This is a new place. Maybe you don't know even the very local language. You can't even communicate. You find most of them come here with post-traumatic, post-stress traumatic disorders. Most of them carry depression out of those displacement and those horrific experiences they've been experiencing.
What would be probably the attitude, you know, of receiving help? Probably the help they're looking for, but the thing that they need is obvious. I need food. We need, please,
I understand what you're saying, because for most people it will be find food, find shelter, find somewhere to be, and much as, yes, we might say the government and say the structures put mental health as an afterthought, sometimes even the people themselves, you know, put it as an afterthought. So I understand what when you're asking then, so how do you then come into sort of and say, listen, mental health does not need to be at the back burner, in as much as we're trying to offer them food, but also have someone to work or walk with them hand in hand when it comes to their mental health?
I think for starters, these are conversations we need to have within the household first, the very basic unit, because stigmatization starts not necessarily from an outward perspective, it's always inward, just the tiny circle going out.
Yeah.
So I'd say having such conversations internally first, normalizing talking about depression, because I mean, on the streets, if someone would come and say, people normally use such terms to describe their daily
stress.
Today I'm depressed.
I'm depressed. You use that very loosely.
Yes. Or someone would look at someone on the street and say, who you anaka mental health? You don't even know what, I mean, it's already discriminatory.
Yes.
When we have conversations first as individuals in our own private spaces that these are normal platforms, it's normal conversation to have, I think that would make progress. And then now take it to the wider space. Something the government has done is try to incorporate mental health within the recent policies that we're seeing right now. When the former president, Mr. Uhuru, instituted the Mental Health Task Force in 2019, it was because we were experiencing a rapid suicide rates in the central region. So since then, up until now, we've made a lot of progress. So when it comes to the different policies that we've seen, how the government is incorporating, we're having, for example, even within the Refugees Act of 2021, Section 21 talks about mental health. So how do we get funding for the mental health? Then with the Refugees Act, you get Shirika Plan, how we envision to implement the act. The second pillar addresses issues on mental health. So, I mean, policy-wise, at least there are things that we are seeing even our current government trying to institutionalize, trying to get access to it. And then in as much as there's little, we have seen that there's also funding being channeled into mental health services. Because before you'd go even to our own government website, you would not see anything on mental health. But right now, all counties have psychologists within their public health departments, which is progress. So these are just basically some of the ways that we can make sure we have that, I mean, the progression. And even looking at different development actors, humanitarian actors, how do we ensure that we have the constant conversation to say that it's relevant to have long-term funding for, or first of all funding, and then long-term progressive funding to be able to resolve these issues, to be able to deal with these issues. Because at times you would get, maybe I come in as a donor and tell you, Winnie, I'm giving you resources, tackle mental health issues in 2 months. These are people who've been exposed to challenges.
You can't give a timeline.
Not even just the outsiders, but even internally, even with the host communities. Do you know, like 1 in every 4 Kenyans is estimated to experience mental illness within their lifetime. So how do we resolve in 2 months something that, I mean, has experienced and dealt with over time? So having the constant conversations even with actors and different actors also, I mean, not just wanting to spend money, but actually seeing the impact that the resources do have.
I think as we wind up, as our time flies, I think probably what would be the message then to donors, policymakers, people who are supposed probably to be part or integrated into this, into the works of helping people, mental conversations, just making sure there's a flow of that. What would be the message to them today? And this is for both of you. For both of you. So we can start with Harry, and then we'll definitely come to you.
So for me, what I can say is the same way we've streamlined gender issues, we can also try streamlining mental health issues, because it's no longer something to be coming as a secondary need. It's a primary need, because there's no health without mental health. And there is no peace without psychosocial well-being. So it is here with us, it is part of us. So we have to take action right from policing to grassroots programs.
I don't know how much time we have, but I just had one more question for you. Because and especially in a refugee setup, right? It's different people from different parts of the world, and sometimes there's that fight for limited resources, and you don't know. Uli alikuja na depression, huyu amekuja na PTSD, and then they all kutana pamoja. So it's easy sometimes for even like violence to erupt, you know, because people don't know how to deal with whatever they're feeling. And say, for example, if there's no help at that point, so then how do you empower the people themselves and even host communities as well to sort of just support them, because it's not easy to just be here, you know, in the first place.
So as RCK, when you look at the pillars we have and the work we do, it is holistically. Like, you look at the pillars, you have right from legal aid, we have community, peace and social justice, we have mental health, we have women and girls empowerment. So we don't just go into the community. Today we're doing a psychoeducation forum. There's an assessment which is done prior maybe by the pillar of peace and social justice, and then we come in, how are these conflicts coming into existence in this community? Maybe find out it is more psychosocial, financial or economic, and then the other pillars now come to intervene so that we heal that problem holistically.
Okay, not just like one approach. Okay, I see that.
Can I respond to that also with my last message?
Yes.
Something very vital for us is inclusion and integration. So when you're talking about, for example, in Kakuma, we have over 19 nationalities. Remember, within the nationalities, there are also tribes. Within tribes, there are sub-tribes and clans. So you would find conflict is a common factor. Last year, we saw conflict erupt in Kakuma, and we had over 3,000 refugees travel overnight to Ruiru to seek shelter. And it was intercommunal conflict. So as she's saying that, and when I'm talking about inclusion and integration, and I will link with your question, is that when we're engaging donors, or for anyone who would like to fund any mental health initiative, we need to look at our context, or African context. We don't necessarily need to bring in Western-centric approaches to mental health. That would not necessarily work. I've given the example of the Zimbabwean grandmothers in Kenya as engaging different mental health practitioners, because it does not mean that before the 80s we were not having mental health issues, right? And ways to address them within the cultural system. So I would say contextualizing what are the needs within this community is something that we've done before. How do you engage this specific community, not even necessarily the entire refugee population? If it's a specific tribe that's having conflict with another tribe, we engage them separately and then come up with measures to mitigate those issues based on the separate issues raised. So I think it's very important that also donors come in looking at the context within the African setting that we have, and even more specifically within Kenya, for example.
That's very well said. Very well said. Unfortunately,
and just like that,
we have to end the conversation. But really, it doesn't mean that it ends here. Let's continue with the conversation even online as well in our spaces, so that we really can sort of like pull together, you know, when it comes to mental health, instead of looking at someone and say, are we or depressed? No, saying, what can I do to help, right? Instead of isolating them. Thank you so much, ladies, for coming by today. Tapawa and Harry, really, really appreciate your time. And sisi tunasema kwa heri.
Tunasema kwa heri. Tunasema kwa heri. Tunatakia kila la heri.
I see what you did there.
Have yourself an amazing day. I have been your host, Mikali Mary.
And my name is Zuni Lubembe. Stay safe. Happy
Mazingira Day tomorrow, guys.
We will see you next week on Monday. Goodbye for now.
Kwaherini. Customer week imekuwa mzuri. Yama umenjoy? Yes. Tumenjoy sana. To repeat.
Themed days.
Yes, Mabel. We want a theme. We want a theme.
For your world. Not to talk hapa.
Okay. Kwaheri.